Hello guys, this is Amrendra. Today I'm gonna explain you about something about singleton pattern. So most of the time, whenever I take interviews, I am ask any question to someone who is giving interview. What all design patterns you are aware of? They will most of the time say that I'm aware of singleton pattern. But if you will ask questions related to singleton pattern that we implement in C#, most of the people will not give the proper answers. So that is why I'm trying to explain you guys what a singleton pattern is and how to implement this pattern in your C# application. So what a singleton pattern is? Singleton pattern we use when we need a same instance of the class across the application. So let's create a application. Let's say I'm creating a console application in .NET Framework and giving you the name singleton example. So now if I will see what could be the possible uses when you will try to use the same value across the application. Let's say for now I'm using a configuration value, and that too the important thing that singleton class will store or occupy the memory once it got instantiated. Before that it should not occupy the memory. So most of the time people will argue that why don't we create a static class? So when we create a static class, it will occupy the memory since the start of the application. But when you create a singleton pattern will apply the memory or occupy the memory whenever you will instantiate that class. So let's say I have a public static void main. Here I want to use a particular configuration, or let's say whatever the given input is, I want to use that input, or there is a fixed code which can be changed by user across the application, but only it will remain one. Let's say I'm adding a name class global variables. Let's say this application, since it is start, it should store the current username or current path name or anything which need to be accessed across the application. So let's say I will create this public global variable class as a publicly accessible class so that it can be accessed from any other classes, even outside if you are using any class library from there as well. So now to make it singleton, most important thing is that you should not be able to create another instance of that class. So how it is possible? Because if you are creating an instance from outside of the class, let's say I'm creating that instance from this public static void main global variables 1 is equal to new global variables and another instance is global variable 2 equal to new global variable. So both of the instance global variable 1 and global variable 2 will be valid across the whenever till the scope of this. But this is not our motive. So what should we do? We should restrict the instantiation of the class. To restrict the instantiation of the class, we will change the constructor to private. So now what is the difference? Now if you will see here, it should throw an error. So it should throw an error that global variables is not accessible due to its protection level. So now you cannot instantiate the class outside of that particular class. So this scope is done. But I can create only instance in this class, but how to access that? To achieve that, we will create a property. Static get instance create a get property where what will you return? So this property should return the global variable itself. But how will it store? Because this, I will create a new instance here again and again. Let's say return a new global variable. But the problem here is that right now we are returning the new instance again and again. Sorry. So if I will use this instance, let's say I will create a public integer, public int counter. Read. So now what it does is it will display you the counter of hits and then increase the value, and so again the value, and then it will wait for an input. So now in this application, because we are returning the new instance again and again, it will not use the same value. It will first initialize it with 0, and then it will increase the value. It will increase the value 1, but in the display it will show again 0. The reason, because the number of instance is creating again and again, because I am returning the new global variable again and again. So let's run the application. So as you can see, before increment 0, after increment 0. So this is not a singleton pattern, because you are creating multiple instances of that application again and again. So what should we do? So now what should we do is this, we have to create a variable which will store the instance of the class. So public variable, if let's say the private variable, if I am instance naming it with underscore, then underscore instance, and in the get property I will check if instance is not equal to null. If instance is instance is equal to null. So if instance is equal to null, then I will get the new class. Otherwise I have to return the old class. To return the old class, I have to store that instance in a variable. Instance name. Okay. Yep. And then return underscore instance. So now it will check again and again that If the instance has any value, if it is already instantiated, then it will return the existing instance. Otherwise, it will create a new instance, store it, and then return it. It is throwing error because we are accessing a non-static public, non-static variable from a static method. So I will create this as. So now instance, okay, my spelling is, I'm doing a lot of typos. Yeah. So now let's go to the example in the program.cs. Here, before increment, if I will see, the value should be 0, but after earlier, even after increment, the value was 0. But now, as we are incrementing the values of the same instances of that particular class, so after the increment, the value should be increased. Let's try. So now before increment it is 0 and after increment it is 1. So here you can see that as many times you will use the this particular instance global variable, you will get the same sort of value again and again, even though you can use it 100 times. So it's like that you declare a variable and then you are using it across the function. Similarly, you declare a class and initialize the value and you can use it across the application. So that is the usage of singleton pattern. That is all for today. You guys like and subscribe my channel, and you can directly message me or put a comment in the video if you need any additional detail or you want any specific design pattern description. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your support.